greatest guitarist in the history of rock music. His new album, 4, featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators, comes out a week from Friday. Please welcome Slash. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
It's been a while. Boy, you really put on some muscle, haven't you?
That's what the guy said.
Yeah, it's true. You have a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, right?
I do, like right across the street.
Did I describe it? I feel like I bummed Andy out, but I mean, it's kind of a weird ceremony, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
We had a good time doing it because we had Jim Ladd was there.
The DJ.
Which is just to have him show up. I've been listening to him since I was a little kid. And then Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen was there, of course.
And Robert Evans. So it was quite
the producer.
Quite a crew.
Wow, that's an eclectic group, isn't it?
Very.
I would imagine you're used to eclectic groups, given your upbringing and stuff. Like, you grew up, like, on Hollywood Boulevard practically, right?
Yeah, I was almost. I mean, I was basically like the Laurel Canyon area. That was like my stomping grounds when I was a little kid, and then sort of wander down to Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard and get into all the head shops and look at all the sort of rock and roll stuff and whatnot. And
fantasize about. I imagine you go to shows and stuff like that.
And you're just like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, those like black light posters.
Exactly.
Did you have those?
I never had any, but my cousins did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go over there. They wouldn't let me hang out for too long because they always had girls in there. And it always smelled really funny.
Yeah, right. Would you go to these shows on the Sunset Strip and get into these clubs?
Yeah, when like around 13, 14, 15 years old, I used to make these fake IDs. You used to be able to get away with it with a pencil.
Right.
And so I was pretty good at it. So we got into the Whiskey and the Roxy and the Starwood. Remember the Starwood?
No, I didn't live here. I was in Vegas, so I remember the Stardust. But
the Rainbow. The Rainbow was the hardest one, actually.
It was why? They were the toughest?
Well, because you really had to, I mean, you think you got balls of steel when you're 15 years old. You think, okay, I've got a fake ID. And you can just walk up and it'll work like everywhere else. But they had this guy named Steady at the door. So he was, and he was a hardcore Italian, bouncer type. So he'd be looking for it. And there was one time I actually went to the Rainbow with Steve Adler, right? Who was my partner in crime back when we were 14 and 15 years old. And we went in there, and so I showed him the ID, and Steven showed him his ID, which I had done for him, too. And they let Steven in, and they wouldn't let me in. They said, get out of here. And I was just crushed. So I went home, and I put on a bunch of makeup, and put on some of my mom's clothes. And I was really drunk, you have to understand. And I went back up there, and it was ladies' night. That's what it was. So I went back and I got in, right? And the whole thing of it for me was I was going to go and pick up on Steven because Steven would screw anything, and I thought it'd be really funny, And then anyway, so I got in, right? And then slowly but surely I started to realize Steven's not here. He's gone. And this whole black cloud of reality came down. I felt the most vulnerable I'd ever felt.
Wow.
Still to this day, I've never felt like that. And then having to leave and then walk down Sunset Boulevard in a dress back to my car.
You probably could have made some money.
Wow, yeah. I thought, anything that sounded like a whistle or anybody raising their voice or anything I thought was directed at me, it was horrible.
Yeah, it's a weird situation to be in because on one hand, you're like, oh my God, there's people whistling at me. Or if they're not, it's like, why isn't anyone whistling at me?
No, I wasn't looking for that kind of attention. The novelty was done.
Your sons are teenagers now, right?
Yeah.
How old are they now?
19 and 17.
And what are they up to? Are they following in your high-heeled footsteps? Or,
No, not quite like that. No. My 17-year-old is an amazing artist, and
that's what you were originally planning to do, right?
So he's doing NFTs now, so he's trying to get me to buy one.
He's trying to get you to buy an NFT from him.
I had to hook up a crypto wallet today while I was backstage.
Really?
I don't know anything about NFTs.
Oh gosh, I remember the first time I tried to sell my dad an NFT. I think I was
right?
I think I was 14.
Different times.
Wow.
And then London, that's Cash, and London, my oldest, is a drummer in a band.
He's a drummer.
Right, called Saint Electric.
What are they called?
Saint Electric.
Saint Electric.
And they just played the Whiskey the other night.
Oh, they did? Did you go to the show?
I didn't go because we're about to go on the road, and we're in this sort of tight COVID bubble, so I can't go hang out in clubs and then come back to the band and go, hey. Yeah.
Did you think your son became a drummer because it's like, when your dad's Slash, you...
You know, he totally did it on his own. I don't think it had anything to do with that. He had a friend in elementary school who ended up being a really good guitar player, and then he thought, well, I guess I'll play. It was sort of like me and Steve Adler. I picked up the guitar because I was going to put a band together with him. So with London, he was going to put a band together with Nico, and he picked up on the drums and just got really good at it.
Do you ever sit in with your son's band?
He's actually sat in with Guns.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just at sound check a couple times, but then I had him in the studio and jammed on some new Conspirators riffs with him. That's fun. During the whole COVID thing when nobody could come over to the...
You guys recorded this album in Nashville live, right? Now that means one take or multiple takes? What does live mean?
So this we always play live. Like, we always go in the room and to get the energy, everybody plays together.
A lot of bands will lay down tracks and play over.
Yeah, a lot of people phone it in these days. But but then I would always go and redo the guitars because I always hated headphones. And they would never let me put the amps in the room with the drums and record that way because technical reasons bleed and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, that's how they used to do it in the old days. And as farther into the millennium we get, the least likely it's going to be for us to record that way. But I met up with Dave Cobb, who's a producer on this record, and he loved the idea of playing live where you just set up like you would in a venue and just mic that up and record it. Now, so that's how we did it.
I want to talk to you about the name of the band because Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and the Conspirators, is that hard to get on merch?
It looks exactly like that.
It's great, too, because you guys, on top of that, you've named the album, you have the longest band name ever, and yet the album's called 4, just the number 4.
There's a reason for that, though, because it started out as a solo thing where it was just Slash. And I met Myles Kennedy, and we started working together, and I said, well, I got to bring Myles into it. So then his name became part of it. And then I met with Brent Brent Fitz and Todd Kearns.
Brent and Todd saying, hey, we'd like our names on it.
Well, I know. I just automatically said they need a thing, too. So we call them the Conspirators, and there you go. But we call it SMKC for short.
Okay, all right. Well, that's the way to go. SMKC is the way to go. And so you guys are going on tour. Yeah. Your first gig is in Portland?
Portland, the 8th, whatever that is.
Tuesday the 8th, and then I think it's the 8th. And then you guys will tour for a while, and then you're going to tour with Guns N' Roses after that.
As soon as I get home from this, then I go straight into rehearsal for that.
You go straight into rehearsal for that.
And then we tour all the way to the end of the year, and then SMKC goes out beginning of next year and does all the international touring.
All right.
America.
Well, go tune that guitar, because when we come back, we're going to have music from this album, 4 by Slash, featuring Myles Kennedy, Brent and Todd. Comes out a week from Friday. We'll be back with Slash. Thanks for watching. And remember, every time you click the subscribe button, one of your enemies gets destroyed.